everybody billions and billions and billions of dollars and making people billions and billions and billions of dollars. The stock market today is a crazy one, and we're going to try to walk you through it, what we see, what we saw, and where we're going next. Should you buy? Should you sell? Stay till the end to find out. Welcome to another episode of Marketbuzz. I've got Akeem and Dimitri's on here. Let's do this. So, what's going on, guys? What's going on? Because I was taking a breather, and I have my little news device shouting at me saying, "News flash, emergency update. Trump has decided to pause the 90 days," which he did. The rumor was out on Tuesday. No, the rumor was out on Monday. No, Monday or Tuesday.
Monday.
That Monday, and then they said it was fake news. And then the fake news was the fake news of the fake news. So Trump, what is going on, man? But yeah, we saw the news. Markets are up. We have the Nasdaq up 10% from the lows. Money's being created. The Bitcoin is sitting at 82K. The Nasdaq 11%. Nvidia 17%. Just insane. We're seeing a complete reversal. Everybody across the board, we get blanket tariffs of 10%, which is what we were expecting in Liberation Day of America. And China ends up leaving the party upset and with 125% tariff. My goodness. It's been a week. So where do we begin, boys? Where do we begin? What do we see from this? Because we saw on Monday that there was a lot of volume waiting to get in. And there's a lot of money on the sidelines right now just waiting to be deployed in this market. We're still not out of the woods yet, in my opinion. You know? But I want to hear what Dimitri's and Akeem have to say on this. But because Dimitri, we're going to show a short. We're going to have a short soon because in the last episode, he called it. He was like, this is all about China. And it was about China. So, interestingly enough, what are we going to see here? I mean, China's going to retaliate tomorrow. That is for sure. The question is that was the question I was asking you today as well. Is at what price, at what level of tariffs do they just stop doing trade altogether? And what other risk arise from this? So let's begin. Let's start. What do you guys see? Who wants to take the floor?
I can start. Look, nothing makes sense at all. You presented everything really well. Nothing makes sense. Nothing is rational. Nothing is logical. You cannot you have no idea how tomorrow is going to look. You don't even know how the next hour is going to look. China and the US depend on each other for trade. US needs Chinese goods and China needs the money from the US. China holds a lot of treasuries from the US, is also financing a lot of the debt of the US. So there's really a strong interdependence. But right now, there is really zero rationality. So I'm going to respond with the emotion that I have at the moment when I see the markets. Honestly, I really feel like you're in Las Vegas, you're in a casino, you're playing roulette.
Mimi's in the house!
Hello, Mimi. Thanks for joining. And I was saying, yeah. Go ahead.
Before Mimi couldn't sleep because of the cryptos. Now it's because of Trump. You know what I mean?
I had to join the party. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear
perfectly.
You good.
Oh, that was a mad rush. I was just like, okay, it's like 2:30 a.m. now.
You see, if Mimi's looking out for your portfolios, you know you're safe because even at 2 a.m. in the morning, the team is looking out to make sure we do the right trades.
Yeah.
But Akeem, continue. So Akeem was talking about...
I was just saying we're really in a casino. There's nothing makes sense. Nothing is rational. Everyone is playing roulette. And just like in a game of roulette, you have big bucks changing hands, you know. And we're going down, we're going up. There are news, fake news, fake news, fake news. And it's just crazy.
No, it's nuts. I mean, like right now, if you don't have Truth Social next to your trading terminal, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like it's nuts. Like he's done it through a tweet. He's done this through a tweet.
It's a trader's market. It's not an investor's
It-
market. It's completely a day trader's market now.
No,
Yeah.
for sure. Like I
But-
mean, sorry, Mimi. Go.
Sorry. I was just going to say it is a trader's market, but God, you could get so wrecked as well, if you're not careful. So it's kind of like, is it or isn't it? Not super safe.
No, it's crazy. Like just like the market volatility that we're seeing, it's nuts. But the thing is like you can't stay in. Like it's like okay, like we got some good news, but then there's still bad news or good news that could happen tomorrow. All of a sudden he could say, "Oh, China has come to the table. We're talking," or he's gonna talk to Xi, or there's so many things that can happen. So many variables. You need to be like that's the beauty of being a long-term investor too. That you have exposure to the market in times like this. I mean, if you miss this rally, your
Yeah.
year is gonna look awful. You know what I mean? But we just
That's the alpha of the year, basically. Today is the alpha of the year. If you miss today, then you are 10% behind, and you're not catching up for the rest of the year. Unless
No,
you're crazy with the leverage, hoping that you're going to catch up.
and the worst part is that he called it. Like he told us, he was like, "It's the time to buy." So he calls it. He gives you the news. It's nuts.
But I think-
Last time I follow his son, Ethereum is down 50% from the moment he said buy. But yeah, Mimi, sorry, go.
The question is, I think on everyone's mind is like, is it safe to buy now? Like we talk about not panicking and but obviously today has been incredible. The question is it enough to start buying, or does everyone wait a little bit for some confirmation? That's probably one of the key questions.
Yeah, it's impossible to answer. I was going to ask that, like, what do we do as investors now, right? I mean, it's easy to say, yeah, we should have bought yesterday, but it's over. Yesterday's over. We are today. What do we do now as investors? Do we just cancel all the noise, like we ignore absolutely everything, and we just continue buying our convictions, or do we wait for
well,
retaliation?
every single conviction stock that we talked about in the last episode is up. You know what I mean? Like I talk Bank of America and Nike, they're up. Nvidia up. Microsoft
Everything
up.
is up.
Everything is up. You know what I mean? So it was like
Digits.
in moments of panic and distress is when you want to set up those positions. You want to have those crazy buy orders in order to take advantage of the market. That's what we're seeing right now. It's just like what we called out. It was like, yeah, the watch list. We took the dust out of that watch list, because when you get prices like that, you have to be able to get in, because there's so much fog around you, right? And the fog of war continues to be there, right? So we have not left this. We're still in the middle of it. This is just a little bit of a blip. This is just a little bit of a win that Trump has done. But this is the big question I want to ask you, and I think a lot of people have this in their minds. Do you think that he did this on purpose, or do you think he's backing out? Because I'm leaning towards this was planned. He said he was like, do not freak out, just relax, it's gonna be okay. I know they're high, and then all of a sudden, bam, he comes up with it. It was nuts. So I want to hear your opinion. I'm talking too much, guys. I'm talking too much.
Okay, so today was... Okay, so let's just be honest. Today it's an overreaction. 10% the Nasdaq, I don't care what happened, because nothing happened, basically. What we got today is a delay of the decision for 90 days. So the uncertainty remains for another 90 days. The rest of the countries, they got a pass, basically, the 10%. Basically, the percentage that the administration should have given to countries on April 2nd, the 10%, they got it today, okay? But China got what they were supposed to get, which was like much more, because like I said last week, this whole thing is about China, because they have a problem with China. And as far today, the 10% on the Nasdaq, at least it was when I checked a few moments ago, is 10%. It's an overreaction. And we have to react the same way when we're just sitting and the market takes a 5% hit, and you say it's an overreaction. That's the flip side. Okay, you can't panic then and panic now. You have to keep your cool. As far buying, no, I'm done buying. Okay, I bought 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago. 90%, 97% invested, 3% in cash, 2% in cash. I mean, what am I buying more with 2%? I rather keep the cash. I'm invested. Nothing has changed in my portfolio other than buying a couple of tweaking here and there, but I'm keeping it. And the next step is earnings, which they are around the corner. And now you're going to start listening to analysts that they told you last week that earnings are going to take a hit. They're going to reverse their estimates tomorrow, okay? Wall Street is going to up the targets for the year for the S&P. So everything is changing basically in one night. And if you are a trend follower and you're following the trend up or down, you can get caught into this and it can destroy your year. So it's important to stay in the markets, close your nose and buy something when prices are down, and you get a 10% return on a single day.
Yeah. You mentioned earnings season, right? Earnings season coming. I mean, in terms of outlook, I don't even know what kind of outlook the companies can give. They don't even know if we will have tariffs, what level of tariffs, with
The
which
scariest thing
country.
would be no guidance. The scariest thing would be no guidance.
You
You'd be
cannot
nuts.
give a guidance if you're in the situation of Apple, for example. If you're an executive of Apple, how can you, as a CFO, how can you even forecast anything? And this uncertainty, it will last, I think, the whole term, the whole Trump term. This uncertainty about the future, because anything can happen. He can always. He's hyperactive, a hyperactive president. It was already the case in the first mandate. He always needs to, tweet something and shake something, right? It's not like Biden. So the market during Joe Biden was much easier. You don't hear anything from the White House. They're quite distant. You don't expect any big news. So it was definitely easier. So you need to, in this case, somehow manage to cancel the noise. And as Dimitri said, you buy quality stocks, ideally when they're down, when they're on discount, and you hold them for the long term. I think that's the best you can do now.
Yeah, I think that we just need to continue to think about, what the next moves are. And I know, Nestor, you and I were chatting the other day and about, how Trump was going to play his hand. Had a PI post on eToro the other day about, referencing like it's just a poker game. And Dimitri is right, it's all about China. So not everything's not going to go up straight up from here, of course. So there's plenty of opportunity still to buy if people are still buying. For me, I was scaling in very slowly with crypto, and I bought stocks and ETFs as well. So we just have to see, there's still so much information, so much data to come out as well, macro and everything. That's we need to remain composed.
Well, like if we start looking at a little bit of the statistics, right? Like if we look at the S&P 500 from the highs right now, we're still 12% down. And from the lows that we reached, we're 12%. So we're in no man's land right now. You know what I mean? The S&P 500 is like, what just happened? You know what I mean? The thing is just like Dimitri was saying, it's like 90 days, right? But that's like 200 years in Trump years.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
It's been a week since the Liberation Day, and it felt like a year. Okay, the back-to-back 5%. Okay, I don't know how cool you are, but it takes something out of you. Okay, that 5% and again 5%. Even if you're not doing anything, you're not reacting to it. It's painful to feel as an investor. And in the next 90 days, it's going to be based on what I watched in the news just like half an hour ago, that they're going to discuss individually with 75 countries. How that works, I don't know, okay? And then they're gonna make deals with those countries individually. That's the way they like to do it. And they're gonna deal with China on the side. But they succeeded to get everyone on the one side and China isolated on the other side.
Yeah.
That was the plan, and they succeeded in some way. Now, where this thing ends and what kind of deal they're going to end up having with the Chinese, because it's going to happen, a deal has to happen. 125% tariffs, it doesn't work. 30% might work, 40% is going to be painful. 125, I mean, well, you're buying a pair of shoes and you're paying like more in tariffs than the shoe, it doesn't make any sense. So a deal is coming, and
But it's interesting. It's interesting because what could we see play out of this, right? So let's say, for example, China has to figure out where 800 billion plus of exports, if the trade with the United States goes to, which I'm assuming is the rest of the world, Europe, Africa, South America, everywhere else, right? And then obviously one of the things that the person in charge of trade in the American government, I don't even remember, but I was watching the interview with the Senate and the House, and he's saying, he was like, one thing that we now need to work towards is understanding like the rules of origin, because what can you do as China? Okay, I'm just going to export to Mexico, and then the Mexicans export from Mexico to America, right? So you just bypass the tariffs, right? You just sell to the Mexicans make a little bit of money, you don't pay the 125% tariff, you just pay 10%. Right? So the rules of origins are going to have to change. There's a lot of regulation that has to change in order for them not to take advantage of it. Like, this is going to be a massive reshuffle, you know? And if China gets the 125, which I don't think it will stay, there have to come to a point. Maybe he just wanted to get to a point that was higher, but this is way too high. This is outrageous, that territory.
Did you guys see today that Amazon canceled a big order from China?
That was nuts. That was crazy.
That's 8% of the U.S. consumer. Amazon is 8% of the U.S. consumer. So that's a big chunk in one move. And when Amazon does a move like that, they don't do and undo things. So that was a big move earlier today.
So it's nuts. The thing is, well, funny enough, also, like that one was a big move, and it tells you that people like the companies are listening to this and taking this very serious.
Are they listening?
Because if Amazon is like willing to like stop contracts.
Wait, are they listening, or because Jeff Bezos was in the inauguration? He was at the front row. Okay, he was in front of the cabinet.
Yeah.
So maybe he's telling him, you know what? To that, and I'm not gonna do an antitrust against you, because they are doing against Microsoft and Google, at least on paper. I mean, with Trump, it's much more complicated. I mean, listen, doing Biden, you just close your eyes, throw the dart on the S&P dartboard, and you make 20%. With Trump, no. And if you are a bit emotional, you're not making any money with Trump.
Yeah. With Trump, you can make 20% if you download through social.
Yeah.
You put our notifications on. You make sure you're paying attention to the markets 24/7.
Yeah.
And you have to listen to every single word he says, and you have to say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
And do exactly the opposite of Jim Cramer is saying.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
She called Monday. Oh my God.
To come back on the story of tariffs, I think in the end Trump managed to reach the goal that he had set. He just wants to bring China to the table. If you guys remember, and that was like 200 years ago in Trump time, he started with 10% tariffs on China, while I think on Canada and Mexico was like what, 20%, but on China he said 10%, and then he increased it to 20, and then he increased it to 30, and he saw that it still didn't work, so he went out with this beautiful table, tariffing the penguins, tariffing the Cambodians, the Vietnamese, and now the Chinese with 125%, and what I'm seeing in the news is China is open now to discuss the situation, and I think since the beginning it probably was the goal of the Trump administration was just to bring the Chinese to the table, and when they tried with 10%, it didn't work. It just didn't work. The Chinese were like, no, we don't care. We don't care. Exactly. And it's a good sign if the Chinese are willing to sit with the Americans and to discuss the situation. I don't think we'll have those tariffs. So looking forward, I think we have more upside than downside because it cannot get a lot worse. I mean, sure, we could have 200% tariffs, 300% tariffs, but at this point, it makes no difference anymore. So I see more upside, more good news ahead than bad news. So we still have extreme fear. We have a lot of people that are very scared. Also, when we read the feed on eToro, everyone is saying, "Yeah, this is an uninvestable market." But I think the worst has been reached. I mean, how worse can you get? I mean, just before actually we started going live, we were discussing, Nestor and me, that actually it could still get worse. There's one thing where it could get worse is if the Chinese threaten as a retaliation measure to take over Taiwan. This is like the one worst thing that still can happen. I'm not saying they're gonna do it, but they could threaten to do it, just as a retaliatory measure to, depending on how the negotiations go.
If they do
That
that,
is correct.
then they're gonna get the rest of the world like supporting the US. I mean, it's gonna be a shit show if that happens. Hopefully, we're not gonna get to that.
Well, interestingly enough, there was, and this is rumor. I still haven't had a confirmation. The Ukrainians said that they found 2 Chinese soldiers within Russian forces.
Yes.
And they are saying that there's potentially 150 Chinese soldiers within Ukraine, like within the Ukraine conflict territories. So if that was to be the case, that's a massive escalation.
That's very convenient. All this time, and they found them today. I mean,
The timing is really
yeah.
interesting. The
the
timing is very interesting.
Always.
Just
It's
before,
hearsay.
just
It's
before,
hearsay.
just before talks with Iran, they're going to discuss. I think this Saturday, this end of week, the U.S. is going to discuss with Iran. So the timing is really interesting here. When you hear those news, Chinese at the Ukraine front and the negotiations with Iran, the 125% tariffs on China, it's I don't think it's all a coincidence. It all happens a few days after Liberation Day.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mimi, what's going on with crypto? I would
Crypto.
What's going on with crypto?
Crypto.
I'm trying to keep on top of all the information that's coming in. Honestly, look, after Monday, so we had massive crash obviously last week. Friday, after Monday, I became incredibly bullish. Obviously saying short-term cautious. After today, I still expect some volatility, but I think that was the bottom. I truly think yesterday I was just like, I think there's still a little bit more downside. I really do think that was the bottom for Bitcoin. Possibly another retest, possibly, but look, I don't want to celebrate too early, but I really do, like my gut tells me, I really do think this is going to be incredible for the crypto community. Seeing the bottom, some consolidation, and now it's just a matter of I'm just trying to find my feet in terms of where everything's at. But that's for now where I'm at. I think that was the bottom.
So if I want to buy crypto between the top between Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, and XRP, which one would you suggest to buy?
Just one?
Just one, yeah.
Oh, that's so hard. Okay. Okay.
Give us financial advice, Mimi, please.
Look. I'm gonna say. Look, they're all gonna do well, but I'm gonna say
Hey,
Ethereum.
Trump does it, huh? Trump gives financial advice now, so you can do it, Mimi.
I mean, if he's allowed to,
Yeah, but Ethereum. Come on, like Ethereum hasn't done anything. Ethereum has so much hate. Ethereum is the previous Ripple, okay, and a different scenario. But everyone's hating on Ethereum, and it's going to outperform. It's going to surprise everybody. So Ethereum, not financial advice at all, but I'm buying more, and I have.
When's the new Pectra upgrade coming for Ethereum?
I think it's May.
That could
next month.
May. That could be a catalyst here, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But right now, that would definitely will be. But Ethereum, it's its moment to shine.
All right, so let me do one more thought about the China thing be, before I forget. So, so what Trump is doing basically, okay, so let's see the big picture. So February of 22, the Chinese closed the Shanghai port for 1 month, and they weren't exporting anything to anybody. Okay, that was a wake-up call for the U.S. to just diversify their supply chain outside of China. The Biden administration, they started with the CHIPS Act and that giving money to Intel and to companies to start the factories in the US, but that was taking too much time. So Trump came in, slapped the tariffs on the Chinese, and forcing the American companies to move out of China and go elsewhere. It's better to get them closer to home, like Mexico, Canada, in the US, but get them out of China. Now, the people confusing that they think the Americans want to make shoes and T-shirts. No, that's not what they are for. They just want to do the high end. The cars, semiconductors, aerospace, AI, all that. The rest of
They
them,
need to be able to defend up against the
yes,
Chinese or
Be-
Russia in this case.
yes, because it's they're trying to get as much time as possible, not to be dependent on China if something happens with Taiwan. When you get your aircraft carriers into the South China Sea, you don't want to depending on the other side for trade. So they're basically both preparing their options in case of conflict. So and Trump getting Vietnam, Japan, and what was the other country? Was another country that first
Cambodia.
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 So these three countries, they have a problem with China. They have the South China Sea is very disputed. If you see the map, China says it's all theirs, but all the other countries they won't. So trust me, those countries they much rather be with the U.S. than with China. So it's much more than trade. It's like security, it's geopolitics. It's much more complicated than buy the Nasdaq and sell the Dow Jones, as some people on eToro think that investing is just buy and sell the indices. It's a bit more complicated than that.
Here, let me give you guys an update just because we got this on the docket. A couple of the things that Trump talked about while we were starting the episode. A deal could be struck with China.
Yeah.
It is working out maybe faster than I thought. Apple building in China is unsustainable. He was watching the bond market, and it's super interesting that the 10-year bond auction was today. And after the bond auction, he talks about. So it's interesting how he maybe creates this uncertainty in the market. Market goes for safety, yields drop. Now that he has borrowed like around $300 billion, he's like, okay, I can relax a little bit. Bam. He probably saved a couple of billions of dollars like here and there. Then people last night were getting queasy. That's a funny, that's an understatement to say the least. I am using instinct on such decisions. You have to have flexibility. And I will take a look at exempting some U.S. companies as time goes by. So this is interesting. This was the remarks that he had, So the story continues to develop under our eyes. Like, you don't have time to analyze before something else comes into the story. And that is the Trump effect, It is the Trump effect. Is the traders markets we're talking about, which we say again, like if you're looking at a 5, 6, 10-year horizon, if Trump is able to win in this, it's gonna be an interesting day. 3 years from now, 4 years from now, end of the year.
Your boy Jensen Huang was seen having dinner at the Mar-a-Lago, talking with the president, and the speculation is that he's going to get some. What's the chip that they export to China like crazy? Is it the H20?
I think so. Or the A20, yeah, the H20.
A20. So, I mean, a lot of things are playing behind the scenes, not in a traditional way with other presidents that you see. I mean, he's having dinner there and here and there, and there's behind the scenes, and you see major companies taking a stance on on policy, which is interesting. So I agree with you guys that it's a trader's market, but you have to be a really good trader to make money in this market. If you're just learning trading today,
Yeah. Watch. You know what I mean? Watch. Pay attention. Sit in. Analyze. Remember moments like this. Because moments like this is what makes a great investor in the long term. You know, it's moments like COVID that make you think, okay, like this can get bad. Oh, this got really bad. How about I buy Amazon at discount prices? And then it's like you make decisions based on the previous knowledge. And that's why paying attention to markets, paying attention to the Fed, paying attention to all these things, the first couple of times, even like there were like the first 2 years of my investment career, I would just sit through events like investor calls or that and just pay attention to what they said and how the market moved, just to understand. And then the beautiful thing about the world is history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So if you can see the rhyme coming, you can take advantage of situations like this, which is what we all did yesterday. Like it was the reason we had the episode yesterday, and now we have to have an emergency broadcast. You know. But it's the reality, you know, and this is what makes a great investor. You know, it's somebody realizing it's like, yeah, I'm down 20%. I've been down 20% before. It's a matter of potentially buying more, setting my safeties, and then taking action in moments like this. You know, I said it yesterday. The money's made. In the dartboard, the bullseye is red. Why? Because you make money when you lose, when the markets are bleeding.
yeah, but you know what? If you just started investing like 6 months ago, and you haven't seen a bear market before in your life, and you get it in a week, okay, not in a year, drip drop, which is like a different kind of pain. But if you get a bear market like within a week, I don't care how many books you read, I don't care how many friends you got. If you took a 20% haircut in a week, it hurts. And if you haven't
Yes.
seen it before,
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's-
it's the difference between experience and theory.
It's so much. It's all about mindset. Like it's so much of that, and I can't. I mean, I sound like a broken record, but it's you know, when we're talking about the psychology, it's like the thoughts and the self-talk. It's the self-talk that really gets everybody, you know, like it goes even deeper. It goes even deeper than just like fear and greed and all that. It's like personally, it goes deep down into like, what do you tell yourself when you're watching your money go down so deep, deeper than you've ever seen? And what do you tell yourself? And I think, you know, like Dimitri said, you know, people have just gotten in early, like this year or a few months ago. Of course, this would humble you. Most people, if we're talking about crypto, for example, they would have gotten in, you know, before November, and they've seen the rally. Oh God, this is really easy. You know, I just printed money, like that was so easy, and then it just humbles you. And this is the test. This is the test whether this is for you long term. You know, can you do this long term? Can you hold through all of it? Because there's going to be more. You think that this pain isn't going to be experienced? It will be. You know, I've felt it so many times, and you know, I'm not going to lie. Like I'm exhausted from these past few weeks. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from just you know, I have to go on Twitter and I have to go on social media to find out what rubbish is out there, but not take it in. But at the end of the day, you're still human. You know, I'm not AI, even though some people think I am. But yeah, you have to try not to take that in, but you do anyway. And then yeah, it tests you. It's mindset. It's the self-talk. And you've got to find out what that self-talk is, and you fix that, and you just move on and you grow.
Yeah, it's funny because what you just said makes me think of the Mike Tyson quote. You know? Everybody has a plan until you get hit in the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like, because everybody for the last 3 years, every single person, I am the smartest person. What? You just buy stock and 20% up a year. Oh my goodness, Warren Buffett, who? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you look at the experience and how that comes to play, and it's like, okay, this is how he got the name, the Oracle of Omaha. You know what I mean? And you start realizing how big names like can sustain it, because a lot of people went into leverage. You know, I read something that said 25% of all leverage positions got wiped out in the last couple of days, just because of the market volatility, you know. And yeah, you know, when you use leverage and it goes against you, it burns and it hurts. And
Yeah.
it's not just as easy as buying and getting in. So it's psychology and it's understanding, and you only get better by taking in the hits. You know, I have a funny saying in my household. It's the hits to the head make the head grow. You know, so whenever you hit your head, you get the bumps, and the bump, and the head gets bigger. You know, so it's that
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
So,
You know what? The psychology thing, I think you're gonna have to deal with yourself. I don't know if you maybe agree with me, but you're gonna have to manage your own emotions, because if you turn on the media, they're not gonna help you. Okay, they're gonna mess you even more. Okay,
Yeah.
they are very bullish when things going well, and they're very bearish when things going they're not going well. So uh, psychology is very important, but you're gonna have to manage it yourself. Get yourself to do it yourself, because if you're looking for someone to help you get your mind right, that's not gonna work
Yeah.
in my opinion. I don't know, other guys.
in,
And just a little tip for the to the people who are not able, you know, to control their emotions and to stay calm, or to the people who have been wiped out because they were leveraged or because they panic sold. I mean, I would recommend, you know, you just keep your money in a interest bearing account, or you buy some government bonds and you just let your money grow there. It will grow slower, but you know, at least it will grow safer. So that's just, you know, a word for because we have a lot of people who are now in a desperate situation, and some will make it worse. Some will go and take a loan from the bank and leverage trade this and lose even more money. I would say no, just, you know, stop there. The money that you have left, just put it in a interest paying account, or in bonds. You know, you get 4% interest, and in the meantime, you know, you can play on with your virtual portfolio on eToro. You can play with pocket money, you know, and continue reading and learning and listening to Marketbuzz and listening to the great tips of Mimi, Dimitri, Nestor. And then when you feel ready to face again a bear market, then you enter. But you know, once you feel that you have your emotions under control.
You can join the core community as well.
for sure,
I've
we'll
got-
put the
I've
link.
got
We'll
it.
put the link in the
Nestor,
description.
Nestor
for
will
sure.
put the links.
For sure,
We'll
for
put
sure.
the links.
Half of our viewership is from that community, so yes. You know, if you're looking to get Mimi's insights, she definitely will provide you with a lot of useful information, which I'm definitely using as well. So, because
Okay.
it's crazy.
So let's ask the panel a question. So are we getting to a new highs this year for the S&P?
Yes, we're going to new all-time highs. For me, no doubt on that.
Yeah, I think
Has the bull bear
Yeah.
scale changed? You know, so I wonder.
Oof,
Yeah.
it has. It has. So you know, with the question yesterday, on a scale of 1 to 10, you asked Nesta like how bullish or
Yeah.
bearish. Where's
But-
Timothy?
But
He
now,
was the lowest. Mine hasn't changed much. I'm still scared.
Timothy is very stubborn. I don't know if he's watching us. He's very stubborn, so I think he's gonna stick with that 3 until December 31. But maybe something we could respond to today is the time frame. When do we expect the recovery to happen, or the shape of the recovery? Is it gonna be a V recovery, a U recovery, a K recovery, like was mentioned in the chat? Mimi, maybe you can go first. What do you
Yeah,
expect?
in one of my previous posts, I said that I was expecting a recovery in Q2, for crypto. But yeah, I still stand by that. A lot of people thought end of year and a longer time horizon, but yeah,
Like a V-shaped recovery then? So a rapid recovery in
yes,
May, June?
May,
Okay.
June.
Dimitri?
I don't see
Okay.
I don't see a V-shaped recovery, because there are still like days in front of us with all the deals to be made. So a V-shaped recovery suggests like it took 3 weeks to get into this hole, 3 weeks to get out. Maybe it's going to take a bit longer in my estimation, but in the second half we're going to reach new all-time highs towards the end of the year. So it's going to be, the returns are going to come towards the end of the year, and the first half is just going to test who is in it for the long term and who is for the short term.
Nestor, what are your expectations? And then I can share mine.
I'm still like in the middle. You know what I mean? The thing is just like we still have to see how the cookie crumbles here, and earnings is gonna be key because this uncertainty still prevails, right? We have recovered. I'm not gonna take that away. We've recovered and we've recovered quickly, but we already knew this. We knew that Trump had this card in his deck, and he could use it at any time. But you still have to be cautious, you know, because there will be opportunities in this market to take advantage of swings to the downside and swings to the upside. If China all of a sudden says, you know what, we're not even going to trade. We're not even going to trade with you tomorrow. Market dumps on this, right? There's still a lot of hope. And one thing, which you know what I mean? I hated myself for this, but it was happening to me and it was true. I was trading on hope more than I was trading the reality of the situation until a week ago. When I was like, what am I, like, why do I keep, like, every single time the market would drop and I would be like, no, but Trump is not going to do that. So it's okay. And then he did it. And I was like, no, but it's okay because inflation is going to cool. And inflation didn't cool. So when the data was changing, I wasn't changing and I was just looking for an excuse. And sometimes that can happen. It's something like something new I learned about me. So I was like, okay, no, like if he's saying he's going to do this and he's going to do this, I have to follow through with that and then make a depiction. And today, for example, like at the bottom on Monday, I went into leverage trades, but then I got out of them because I was like, look, I wrote it down. Even in my book, I wrote it down. 50-50 chance he takes away the tariffs. It was a 50-50 because I thought maybe he leaves it a couple of days to create the panic, but he didn't. I am happy. I still have exposure. That's why I always have exposure in my portfolios, and I have a very small part of my portfolio that I enter in and out. But the rest is crazy, you know. So it's like I still see the risk of the Trump factor. He's been president for 3 months.
Yeah,
it hasn't been 100 days. Like,
did you see the statistics that the generation, what's the generation now is the Generation Z? After millennials, at the Generation Z?
Millennial, Gen Z, yes.
Isn't
Gen
there
Z.
like alpha already?
So
Gen Z and Alpha is born, yeah.
Okay, so Gen Z consumption of alcohol apparently is like 1/10 of what the millennials are like consuming. Trump is trying to change that. Okay, people get into markets, 3 months. I mean, you want to be drinking every single night with this guy, like all the uncertainty and the volatility. So it's not easier. It's harder, in my opinion, with Trump.
it is. But the thing was that was the thing. Like the problem is volatility creates opportunity. It is the reality. You know,
It is.
he's coming and he's rattling the cage. So he's creating opportunities. People that were not in the markets, I think he's trading the markets. In all honesty, I think he's trading the markets. 100%. He has his trusts, his son, his daughter, his
Actually,
Baron has a Robinhood account.
If I can give another tip, because President Trump, I mean, he's president since 3 months. We still have 45 months to.
Fuck! Why do I keep fucking this up? My bad, guys.
Did you chat again?
But you know what happens? I tell you what happens. There goes a thing. Fuck!
The same as yesterday.